Good afternoon. I'm Ben Willis, and thank you for joining me on Across the Fence. Each year, we have the honor of announcing the Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year, an award presented by UVM Extension and the New England Green Pastures program, which recognizes excellence in dairy farming. This year's winner is nestled in Franklin County. It's Four Girls Dairy, a small farm with a big heart and big ideas. This 60-cow dairy is owned by Peter Rainville, who grew up working just down the road in Georgia, Vermont, on his parents' dairy farm.
My brother took over that farm, and I had an opportunity to buy this farm, which was the home farm where my dad grew up. My Uncle John had it, and he was ready to retire. He wanted to keep it in the family, and he offered it to me, my aunt and uncle. And so we bought the farm in 2000.
Peter was striking out on his own, pursuing the independence he'd always wanted, on a farm he loved and knew well. But in 2007, disaster struck.
I remember waking up in the morning, and I used to always just grab a glass of orange juice and head out to the barn, and I remember looking out the window. It almost looked like a vehicle coming up the driveway. I saw a light, and I looked out the window and I could see sparks coming out of the fans at the end of the barn. I think I hollered upstairs to my wife at the time, and I said the barn is on fire because I saw some flames coming out of the fans. And we called 911. I ran in the barn, and the cows are chewing their cud and just standing. There was no smoke in there whatsoever, but the fire was located at the end of the barn right where the fans were. And so that's when we started unhooking the cows, getting them out. And by the time we got to the other end of the barn where the other section of cows were, the fire must have burned through the fans, and it was just like a black wall. I mean, like pitch black, and you couldn't see a thing. And then it just overtook us, so we had to get out.
Peter lost 48 cows that morning. He milked the survivors at his cousin's farm for 2 weeks before making the painful decision to sell them off. But Peter was determined to rebuild. With support from UVM Extension, he set out on a journey across the US and Canada, learning how other dairy farmers were adapting and innovating.
We saw everything. I saw tie barns. I saw tie barns in Pennsylvania where they're milking over 200 cows. And these concrete silos that are like 30 some odd feet by 130. I mean, it's crazy. And they're milking cows in there 3 times a day. And more power to them. My limbs can't take that. My joints can't take that. We saw just about every automated milker you can imagine. At that point, robotics I wasn't even considering that. It seemed like the other states or other farms we visited, they were embracing technology, where for me, I was like, no. I didn't want to see, some rich person that put these things in. I wanted to see somebody that's actually making a living with the robots.
It was seeing the widespread use of automated milkers in Canada that began to open Peter's eyes to a new way of doing things.
Coming back up here, when you mentioned like automated milkers, it was just a negative attitude. But we saw them, they were working, So I knew it wasn't going to be a tie barn. So then it was, do we put in a milker, or do we put in, a milking parlor or an automated milker? And talking to my mother, she had asked me, she goes, do you want to live, or do you want to live in the barn?
When construction began on the new barn, Peter knew his mother was right.
We decided on the automated milker, and I never looked back after that. And it's allowed us to not miss softball games, soccer games, and you still have to do chores, but you do them when you get back. The cows are always milking, and if for some reason something happens where they can't milk, then it calls me on my phone, tells me what's wrong. One thing with this facility is just, it's not noisy. There's no equipment in the barn that go with the cows. But when you walk around the cows, they're not nervous or anything. So that's the whole idea behind this automation, automated milking, is just you want to have a stress-free cow. So you want to make life as comfortable as possible for her. So this is the milker. I've milked, this machine has milked 934,425 cows so far in 16 years. So, can you imagine if I had to do that? My joints would be wore out. Some cows, like to move for you, and some cows, they just don't. But they do their own thing, and they get milked when they want. And so it's totally free traffic. You see it a lot more in like a robot barn that I think you see the cow's personality really comes out. I mean, they're all their own. You really see it. But you grew up in a conventional barn where you always think this cow's she has to be milked every 12 hours, but with a system like this, I mean, they can get milked. They can come in every 4 hours, 5 hours, and get milked.
They do it
when they want to, when they feel the urge,
The robotic milker was just the beginning. Since the fire, Peter's gone from skeptic to innovator, partnering with UVM Extension and Ben & Jerry's to cut emissions, boost efficiency, and care for his cows and his land. He's added solar panels, a feed pusher, and continues upgrading the barn. For Peter, everything comes back to family. After the fire, he gave the farm a new name, one that reflected what mattered most.
I didn't really think of changing the name till after the barn burnt, and then I built this facility, and then I'm thinking to myself, I want to change the name. I wanted to change the name. And so it's like our identity. And I had 4 daughters, so that's where I came up with the 4 Girls Dairy.
Peter's daughters, Sarah, Marie, Hannah, and Ashley, share their father's passion for this place and for farming.
Whenever my parents did chores, they'd put us in the calf pen. So we basically raised in the barn.
Just being here and working on it more now, it's like I owe my work ethic, I owe everything. Being raised around the farm, everything
As his daughters grew up, Sarah, Hannah, and Marie pursued nursing careers, taking them further from home. But in recent years, they've begun to return.
When I started working in healthcare and then I moved out, I think having kids too brought me back more closer to the family because I wanted my daughter to be raised the way I was. So
this is where I want to be, this is where I want to spend my days, this is where I want my future kids to spend their days.
They just love being on the farm. It's great for everybody.
We have everything we could ever need right here.
If you're gonna try and start out, I think you gotta work hard, but not too hard that you don't spend time with your family.
And now this tight-knit family and the farmer who's been through so much are receiving the recognition they deserve.
For Girls Dairy, on behalf of University of Vermont Extension and the Vermont Dairy Industry Association, we would like to present you as this year's 2025 Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year. I think the biggest thing about this farm is that it's kind of right-sized for the amount of land base that Peter has, as well as what one person can really do on their own. This could be a model for a young person really interested in getting into dairy in the future, and the judges really thought this could be a sustainable representation of an alternative way to dairy on a smaller scale that can still support a family, can still bring a younger generation back to the farm and keep dairy farming going and thriving.
When I built the barn, that was one of the things that I had in mind was I wanted to be a size that I could support with the farm that was here. I have no intentions of getting big. Nothing against anybody who wants to get bigger, and there's some big farms in Vermont and they're family farms and they're just all their sons and daughters, pooled everything together to be just a larger family farm. It was more efficient, but that just wasn't for me.
Another aspect that stood out to the judges was Peter's relationship with his cows.
This one will follow you around the barn. You get some, they like to get scratched underneath the chin. She's a good girl.
You can see the love that Peter has for the cows and the love that the cows have for Peter.
I've been with Pops in the barn doing chores together before.
I was gonna say walking through the barn.
Oh my God, it is like, it is the best.
This cow does this every morning to me, and this cow does this.
Oh my God, I saw da-da-da-da, she did this the other day. Oh, she was bucking at that one. He's like gossiping, gossiping about these cows. Like, he doesn't gossip about the town, he gossips about the cows.
But do you have a favorite cow, or are you not allowed to?
I do. Vern.
This is Vern. I know to some people she's not very special, but she is to me.
She's a Montbéliard cross, and I love to do some crossbreeding. And she's one of those. She's big, and she's a red and white, and she's just kind of my buddy.
She really likes it when you scratch her leg.
I got a couple, but yeah, she's probably my favorite.
You know, it's an emotional connection to the farm and the cow. Everything.
Yeah.
It's not just a job for him. Like 4th of July is a good example. If there's fireworks around, he's here.
He's here watching the cows.
Closes the curtains, and he says he just talks to his girls.
For Peter, that bond with his cows is at the heart of everything.
He loves the cows, the girls love the cows. Everything else kind of is focused around how to support the cows. So every innovation that's been adopted on the dairy farm is really driving that home.
But the most important thing Peter is building isn't new equipment. It's something deeper.
I think my biggest thing about like staying on the farm and investing my life to it is everything that he invested into us.
Even after the barn fire, he never gave up.
Yeah,
never gave
definitely
Never
not.
gave up
Yeah.
and took good care of us on the farm, and now we're here.
Like they say, it's a way of life. It just, you know, I get up in the morning and I walk from there to there. And I don't have to drive a vehicle or anything, and I'm working with nature, I'm working with animals, and I mean, we're outside. It's a beautiful day. I can't imagine being inside, you know, working in an office. For me, I just love being outside. To me, my biggest thing is animals. I love animals. And great place to raise a family, for sure.
Four Girls Dairy. It's a farm that feels like the past, but runs like the future. In Fairfax, Vermont, I'm Ben Willis with Across the Fence. Thank you so much for joining me today, and congratulations to Four Girls Dairy.